Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. In just a moment, I'm going to walk my happy butt over to the futon to check out the new VOD film, Don't Log Off. Don't Log Off is written and directed by Brandon and Garrett Baer, and it's starring Ariel Winter, Luke Benworth, and Sterling Bowman. It tells the story of a group of friends who are having a virtual birthday party on Zoom, and during the party, one of the attendees just vanishes in front of everybody's eyes. And so the friends try to piece together and figure out what in God's green earth happened to their friend on their video chat. This is one of those told only through screens movies, similar to some films that came out here recently, Searching in 2018 and Missing in 2023, where everything is told through different screens. So by this I mean computer screens, phone screens, TV screens, things of that sort, okay? So it's supposed to be like you're also watching the Zoom call or something like that. It's a really unique way of storytelling for films like this, and I think it's also a cool way to keep things on a low budget and also have a really neat little stylistic choice. It seems like this generation's found footage horror film. Back in the day, it would have been a bunch of reels of film that were found in a ditch out in the woods, and now it's just weird streams that happen to be going on online services like YouTube and Twitch and all. So it's really cool watching movies like this. I like watching horror progress and different subgenres changing and morphing into something new. So you know what? It is enough of me sitting here jibber-jabbering on. As always, my faithful movie companion Haku is patiently waiting for me over at the futon. So it's enough of me jibber-jabbering on. It's time for me to get over to the futon and check out Don't Log Off. Just getting done watching Don't Log Off, and guys, I really enjoyed this film. I thought this was a really neat, slick little film. So let's get this started, shall we? Now, normally I do negatives, but this time around I'm going to call it mixed, because some of these things I'm going to talk about didn't necessarily bother me, but I could definitely see where some viewers would take issue with some of the ways that this film is presented and all. So this time around, not necessarily negatives, I'm going to call this mixed, and then we'll move into the positives to end the video on the ever so important high note. So the first thing I want to talk about is just really how this whole film is presented. Now, I talked about how this is done through screens. Well, kind of. It's actually done more through a Zoom call and screens and so on. But pretty much everything takes place during this one Zoom call during this birthday party. So all these friends are connected in this one call. And so there's a lot of tension all built up with this because during the film, your computer that you're watching this all on, the battery is slowly dying and things of that sort. So it does really bring in some really cool style and some ways of building tension. But there's also some moments where this screen will get very overwhelming. There will be a lot going on. For instance, you have the Zoom call going on and you have the friends talking all at once and arguing about what might be going on. At the same time, while that's going on, other friends in this group might be DMing each other back and forth, so you're also reading some different script and, some different text messaging and all that's happening on the screen and everything. At the same time, this is all going on. And yes, it's a bit overwhelming and it can be a bit disorientating, and I think maybe it was done that way by design, but it does seem to be overload in some moments of this movie. Also, too, with using cell phones as your primary, filming, there are some really moments where, yes, it's very natural because it's the way people just kind of hold cell phones and everything in film, but there's some really jerky movement and some real quick cuts and everything where the camera does move around really fast and have a lot of jerky movement. And so I know, yes, that could be very disorientating for people. They'll do some effects, which I thought was kind of cool though, but I could see also where this could be very bit of pain in the ass for some people, where the Zoom call will be going at the top and then one person will be out, I guess you could say, in the field, out in the city, city and the loneliness and everything, trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, and they're filming in a horizontal fashion with their phone, and sometimes they'll switch it over to landscape and everything, so all of that presentation can get a bit overwhelming and a little bit jarring for some people. But with this being on a streaming service, at least where I am, and not up on a big screen in a theater, it's not too awful bad, but I could see definitely that if you are someone who saw this in the movie theater, I think that it might be a bit jarring with the way the camera moves and all. But that all, in all honesty, really was some of the things that I think would bother people. This film also does feel kind of like a really long YouTube video, and I don't mean that in a bad way because it's a really cool presentation and I did enjoy it, but I could see where some people might find it kind of underwhelming and a bit too stylized and everything, and not presented in a way that they would really enjoy and all. However, I did really think that this presentation, the way this film was done and all, especially when you find out later during the credits on the limitations that they actually had when they were filming this movie. So let's move into those positives, shall we? And the first thing I want to talk about is just the overwhelming COVID. Yes, this film takes place during the pandemic and during lockdown, if I didn't already make that pretty well clear by the way I was discussing things. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that gets brought into that I thought really did bring in a lot of great vibes to this movie. Because it's not been that awful long, but I do feel like it's been long enough that we aren't as traumatized by a lot of the events that happened during that time period. And yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff that we were reminded of in this movie too, so sitting around in comfy socks, trying to find, eBay toilet paper and things of that sort, with also driving home that overwhelming sense of dread that's going on throughout the pandemic. And I thought the film did a good job of bringing that uncertainty and all of just how everybody felt during that time period really good into this movie, and brought it into the story and all, and did help with the actual tension and fear that was presented in this film. So I thought the usage of the time period worked really, really, really well. The movie does have just an overwhelming feeling of dread throughout the entire thing, and it does do a really good job of developing some tension and some really scary moments. Now, I did say that there was some problems with the presentation and cinematography in this film with using cell phones, but there were some moments where shooting horizontally and all, and closing off the way things were going on, really helped drive home the fear and limit your viewing as a viewer, so you didn't get to see as much that was going on. There was also some really neat styles that were done during the Zoom call. For instance, when people would try to go over to the apartment to try to find out what happened to their friend who just vanished on screen, things would happen, but their cell phones would still be going. So the cell phone would just be live running the ceiling or something. And then you would see someone just run across the screen or something, but you were paying attention to somebody else who was talking at the moment. So then you got to, rewind it so you could see what happened. But I thought that those little moments really did do a great job of driving home the fear. Now, this movie is not overwhelmingly violent, and it's not necessarily overwhelmingly scary. It just has a really good tension vibe to it. So this might be a really good introduction horror film for some, I guess you could say, younger viewers. When I watched this on the Prime, on the VOD service on Prime, and it did say that this was appropriate for 16, I think is what it said. It didn't necessarily have a rating, so I would say, yeah, that's probably appropriate, but there's not any real blood or guts. There is, again, the subject matter of the pandemic and everything like that, so maybe that's why they say 16, but who knows. I still think that this was a really solid PG-13-ish introduction to horror that I think some younger viewers might really enjoy. So all in all, guys, I would have to say that this is a really stylized, fun movie that I really enjoyed, and also stick around for the credits, because then you find out that they filmed this during the pandemic, and they did the entire thing online over Zoom, and it's kind of neat to watch the process and everything as the credits are rolling, so definitely stick around for that. But yes, this is a solid VOD, watch this movie, and guys, this is the kind of movie that works really well on a streaming service. Not that it wouldn't work well in theaters in all honesty, but it does really great as just a small fun watch on a streaming service, and this is the kind of movies that I think that more streaming services should focus on. So anyways guys, yep, solid watch, definitely worth the $5.99 rental fee, and I do believe it was for sale on Prime 2 for $12.99 or something like that, so if you want to purchase it, purchase it. Well, alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.